Hello, dear friends and supporters, and hopefully future supporters. For 17 years, the Fatherhood Institute has been telling the story of fatherhood. And we've revealed fathers' unique impacts. Our high-quality evidence base is internationally recognised. But at the heart of everything we do is the voice of the child, of children. Dead, alive, present, absent, confident, unconfident. Fathers have a lifelong impact on their children and on future generations. And lots of fathers don't know that. Their influence on education is particularly powerful, and competent reading is at its core. But only 1 in 3 UK dads reads to his young child, more often than once a month. And 1 in 4 of our poorest 11-year-olds has fewer than 10 books in their home. It's called the book gap. Our Fathers Reading Everyday programme, FRED for short, changes all of that. Fathers read more often, and they read regularly, and they spend more time with their children in other ways. So their relationships become better and closer, and more books come into the household. And children who take part in FRED do better than their peers in reading and literacy and surprisingly numeracy. So now I'm going to hand you over to my colleague, Charlie Rice, and he's the leader of our FRED team. So 2 years ago he came back from Texas, where he'd been on a research trip, and he was feeling very inspired by the story of FRED. Since then, he has gone on to inspire 2,000 dads in schools across the UK, including in Brixton, where he lives. Now, Charlie is also a dad, and he's a granddad. And to the South London children who greet him in the streets and the parks and the playgrounds, he's actually Fred. Charlie Rice.
Thank you, Kathy, and good evening, everybody. So yeah, do call me Fred. My granddaughter thinks it's hilarious when a child comes up and calls me Fred in the playground. So how does FRED work? FRED is a very simple program. It's not a literacy program. It's a program about the joy of fathers reading to their children. It's a 4-week home-based program where there's a launch party within the school and fathers and dads get involved and get a FRED pack. Then the dads read to their children for 15 minutes a day for the first 2 weeks and 30 minutes a day for the second 2 weeks. That's the aspiration that we set them. They then keep a reading log, and their achievements are then celebrated 4 weeks later at a celebration closing end of FRED party. The dads then have the reading habit for life and continue reading with their children thereon. So FRED works with all kinds of fathers and father figures. Birth dads, stepdads, granddads, uncles, and even older brothers have been doing it. A weekend dad said to me, he said, I just love FRED. He said, when I pick the kids up on Saturday, they say to me, Dad, can we have FRED? We don't want to go to McDonald's anymore. He said, this is win-win both ways. He said, my children are reading better and my wallet's a whole lot healthier. So we have dads with low literacy level rates who are involved, and so we get them to use storybooks to tell stories, or put photo books together to tell stories of their own childhood to their children, therefore passing down the stories generation on generation. We have dads with English as a second language who also have quite a challenge, so we use dual language books. We had one dad who said to me, he said, my first language is French, my wife's first language is Spanish. My son pestered me to do FRED. He said, but I don't read English. He said, my son taught me. He said, we both won out, and we had a laugh along the way. So we have military dads doing it, long hours dads doing it, using FaceTime and Skype. Our independent evaluation, as Kathy talked about, found that children on free school meals made the greatest progress, and we had more boys participating than we had expected. And that was quite interesting because there were more girls in the school cohort, but something went on with the father-son relationship which got those fathers and boys reading together. This is all great news, but we found that many children did not have access to books at home, and this is where our ask comes in to help us bridge the book gap. In 2015, we aimed to make FRED available to 3,000 children and their fathers and as part of this produce an anthology of stories called Read Said Fred, to give to every Fred dad and child. These stories are being donated free by great authors. We have Sir Tony Robinson signed up, Julia Donaldson signed up, Frank Lampard, Peter Bentley, Giles Andrea, John Fardell, and now Helen Coucher. And we are now looking for a further 3, so we have our target of 10. So we hope that you'll give, so we can produce 3 copies of Read Said Fred to give to 3,000 fathers and children so they can make lifelong memories together. So thank you, and thank you, Mary.